Hey guys, today we're going to do a video about how to make a big sign. This one says United States of Genocide. We're going to be covering how to do the letter spacing, the duct tape lettering, we're going to hit it with some spray paint, and then in the next video we'll talk about how to line it with PVC. Getting started, we're going to get set up with the king size flat sheet. You buy these at Walmart and you open it up and fold it into thirds. Once it's folded, you cut along the crease and then you're able to rip the rest of it. Just get over this fat white part there and you can rip the rest. Getting started, it's important to sweep the space, then you can tape your sheet to the floor. Number 3, maximize the message, comes with 2 rules. The bigger the better and the shorter the sweeter. Next, you're going to determine the dimensions of your sheet, write it all down, draw a diagram, determine how many characters you need, and then figure out how tall your letters can be using a 1:2 ratio of width to height. This is what it looks like on the floor. I taped the corners. I'm not trying to stretch the material at all, just hold it in place so that I can put some duct tape letters on it. I wanted to get a length and width on these things, so I did that by laying out some measuring tapes, and I'm just going to leave them out because it's easier. But we have 34 inches by 107 inches, and we have a certain amount of letters, so we need to make sure that these letters are centered and as big as possible. Every character gets one space, and you always start and end with a space, so even a space gets a space. Some characters like M's and W's get 2 spaces or 1.5 spaces. This is kind of awkward. This is 2 spaces. I prefer 1.5. We've already decided that our message is United States of Genocide, so let's count this out together. Leading space 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, spaces 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So 15 on the top, but if you do that on the bottom you get 13. And in order to make the bottom row the same size text as the top row, we're going to have to move this over a little bit. So we'll take the difference between 15 and 13 is 2. We'll take 1 space and put it over here, and 1 space and put it over here. That way it'll move everything into the middle. And this is what that's going to look like. So you get 2 leading spaces and 2 trailing spaces, and each row is 15 characters. When you do the math, it comes out to a little bit more than 7 inches per character. We're going to round down to 7 inches because it's much easier to mark out using the measuring tape that way. And when we do that, it'll be 7 inches times 15 characters, so that's going to give us 105. Our grid is going to be 105 inches wide. Here's a depiction of those 2.5 inches that you lose. If you'll notice in our diagram, we have 2 strips of characters, 1 and 2, but we also have 3 buffer zones, 1 on the top, 1 in the middle, and 1 on the bottom. And we're going to have to take these buffer zones into account while we're maximizing the height of our letters. I wouldn't go any less than 3 inches on your buffer zone, but do as you will. We know that we want our characters to be 7 inches wide, so ideally we'd like them to be 14 inches tall using the 1:2 ratio. Unfortunately, our sheet doesn't want us to do that today. If we were to have 14 inches here and 14 inches here, that would be 28 inches, and it would only leave us with 6 inches to make 3 buffers. It would violate our 3-inch buffer minimum. So I propose we reduce the height of our 2 character strips to 12 inches each, so that would be 12 inches, totaling to 24 inches. That way we'd have 10 inches left to divide into 3 buffer zones, and I'm going to do it like so: 3 on the top, 3 in the middle, and 4 on the bottom. A couple more suggestions for you here at the top, and then the rest is review. First, I suggest using all caps because it really helps maximize the size of the character, and personally I want my sign to be read from as far away as possible. Second, if you have a character that's thinner than 5 inches, I wouldn't use full-size duct tape. I would cut or rip the tape in half. This 5-inch minimum usually means you'll only get 20 or 21 characters per row using a king-size bed sheet. So now we're going to start marking on our sheet. We're going to start by marking the sides. We just talked about 3 inches on the top, so from 34 to 31, and then another 12-inch high letter would take us down to 19 inches, and 3-inch gap here, so 1, 2, 3, and from 16, another 12 inches down to 4, and that's 4 inches over there. We're going to do the same thing to the other side. Hitting 4, 16, 19, 31, and those are our marks. Right now, I'm going to line a measuring tape up along each of the markings that I made. So I got this one here at the first 3 inches, and I'm going to go along. I'm going to line it up over here, and I'm just going to start marking 7 inches, 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, 56, 56. And then we're going to move down to the next row and do the same thing. Got to line it up to the markings that we made. And then we'll grid it out. Counting out at 7 inches. 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 48. Seven, 14, 98, 105. Duct tape lettering requires a nice pair of scissors, a few rolls of duct tape, and some alcohol to keep your scissors clean because the duct tape gums up your scissors. It's also good to have a knee saver if your knees get tired like mine do. So let's get going with our first letter. This is going to be the U. Now, the letter, this is kind of how you start it. It's okay, you got a little space to work with. You can make the first letter a little bit big. I usually like to make the first letter bigger and taller. Now, here's where things get interesting. So the bottom of the character mark is right here, but I'm going to extend over it because we're going to end up cutting the bottom off of the U so that it can be a rounded letter. And that kind of looks like a U, right? So when you've cut off the bottom, you want to take it and fill in the top, so that it looks like one continuous piece of duct tape flowing around. So it's always the same width. That's your goal. For this, I'm going to just go ahead and start cutting here and end cutting here, because that's the easiest way, I think, to keep things. You don't even have to fill it. It's already pretty close. Alright, and I guess over here we'll do the same. So we're here in the garage, we're about to put some paint on it, so let's stay moving and let's get going. As you're painting, really the only thing you're worried about is making a puddle. Because if you make a puddle, it's going to get sucked up underneath the tape, and it'll defeat the purpose of your tape. Just want to make sure you've got a thick black line surrounding the tape. I try to stay half on the tape and half off. That's my goal, and it kind of mediates me because I make mistakes in either direction. Just stay moving, that's all. Now let's get these letters off of here. Alright, looking good. I'm trying to decide what my color scheme should be. Obviously red, white, and blue would be great, but I'm thinking this blue is a little bit too dark. If it was going to be the filler color for this black, you might not be able to see the lettering from very far away. I'm thinking the contrast with the blue here might do the trick. If you didn't want to use black to outline your characters and fill it from behind with color like we're doing, you could outline it with color and fill it in with black spray paint from the front. Just kind of freehand the letters, just use the negative to inform where you put your paint. And it still looks good this way, it's just got a little bit more character. This is what that looks like from behind. Okay, let's flip this thing over. My goal is to really saturate the fabric with paint, but only on the white parts that shine through. So the sign is upside down right now, and we're hitting it from behind. Let's see what it looks like if we pull up paint a little bit. Looks pretty good. Oh shoot, it's really going through. Oh gee, that's not good. So we have to use less paint. So this is the final result. It doesn't look too bad. We did have some mistakes here, like we were noting. The blue seeped through a little bit more than we wanted it to. I would just hit that with some permanent marker and call it a day, just to hide the mistakes a little bit. I like this method a lot. You can kind of see the path of the spray paint, and it didn't seep all the way through, everywhere, but it still does the trick and kind of gives it some texture. So click through to the next video and we'll mount some PVC to this thing.